Welcome to Mimika TV. I'm your host, Mimika Cooney. I'm honored to be with you on this journey towards empowering you to succeed in faith, leadership, and business.
If we're being honest, and if we're not running our businesses from this scary mindset of I'm not good enough, imposter syndrome, I can't do this. Who am I if I sit there and look at this, what they've created, or they've got this many people on their email list. That's not me. When we just kind of shut down that negative dialogue, and honestly, guys, I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies. It's not even other business owners. Like, we just have this running dialogue that we can say, no, I'm going to trust in God and not keep operating out of fear. But when we realize that we can show up and that we can help people, it just makes it so much easier. So look at what you do and say, I love this, I tolerate this, and make your marketing and your messaging putting it out there of what you love.
Welcome to Mimika TV. I'm your host, Mimika Cooney. Today we're talking about the golden rules of social media to grow your business. Heuman is the CEO of Sweet Tea Social Marketing, host of the Business, Jesus, and Sweet Tea podcast, keynote speaker, and founder of Social Thrive Business Academy. She helps Christian leaders, companies, churches, and nonprofits scale using social media. Heather has worked with clients like Chick-fil-A, Wilson Sports, and global brands during her 19 years in the digital marketing space. She specializes in helping business owners discover how to grow in today's noisy social marketplace with a solid social media strategy. So welcome, Heather. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Mimika. I'm really excited to sit down and talk to you.
I know. Well, I have seen your face and your name pop up because obviously you are great with social media. So I was like, oh, I got to speak to her. And once I started looking at what you're doing online, I thought you really are speaking my language because you are a faith-based entrepreneur serving other faith-based entrepreneurs with some great tools and tactics that I think all of us need, and that you really are able to help people leverage the tool and the strategy of using social media to really grow their business. But you've got some great tips. You're going to give some actionable tips we'll be able to go through today. But before we do that, tell our audience a little bit about you and how you got doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. So I am a wife. I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids. I live in South Carolina. And my journey is an interesting one, which sometimes I look back and say, how on earth did God take the crazy of my life and weave it all to kind of where I am today? But it feels like it's a neat God story. But I used to be a special education teacher in the classroom. And in around 1999, I just had like crazy happen. I was 25. I had been married for 4.5 years. I was getting ready to move to Athens, Georgia. And my husband at the time was going to graduate school. We sold our house. We moved. I quit my teaching job. So we found ourselves living in Georgia. And less than a month after living there, I wasn't able to get a teaching job because we moved like 2 weeks before school started. So I just started working part-time at the local grocery store that I had also worked at when I was in college. And after about a month of uprooting and moving and living there, my husband came home and said, I want you to know that you don't meet my needs physically, emotionally, spiritually, or intellectually. And I've tried to love you, but I just don't. And I really would just like it if you'd gather your things and if you'd leave. So after...
What? He said what?
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that was a 2-minute conversation. And so I just was like, I was devastated. I was 25. I was like, I don't understand what's happening. And I just was honestly just broken. And so I pretty much went into this place of talking to my pastor and praying and just saying, I don't understand what is happening. And I was just devastated that I was like about to become this statistic of someone that was divorced, even though I didn't want to be divorced, even though that sounds crazy. And you're like, who wants to be married to someone that's like telling you these things? But I genuinely, believe marriage is forever. And I wanted it to work and see what kind of counseling could be available. But that is only goes so far if there's only one person that feels that way. So after about 2.5 months of just praying and trying to figure it out, I ended up leaving. because we lived in married college housing and he was a college student. So I had to ultimately leave. But before I left, the grocery store chain had they had a list. It was a national brand. They had stores everywhere. I went to the company and said, my life is kind of crazy. Are there other opportunities with the company? And they had an opportunity in Nashville and Hilton Head, South Carolina. And I was like, well, I'm from South Carolina. Let me just at least try to get closer to what feels like home. So I got a job interview, ended up getting the job, customer service manager, 2 days before Thanksgiving. So I take as much as I can in a car and I move to the beach and kind of am in this dark place of working 60 hours. Nobody knows the crazy of devastation that I'm feeling. And I'm just like working all the time because I feel numb. And just kind of like through that time while I was there, totally having to like rely upon God and what was happening, I ultimately really enjoyed the work I was doing, but I was really tired of working 2 p.m. to 11 o'clock at night. I was a single girl. All the managers had kids. I'm like, yes, I'll work on Easter. I'll work on all these holidays. And it just was getting old. And I ended up, and this is really old school, before we called it social media, but this is in 2000. And through this tool called ICQ, I
remember that.
Messenger. I ended up meeting the founder and owner of a digital marketing agency, and it led to a job interview that they had for an office manager. And it was an $18,000 pay cut, but I was single. So I was like, as long as I can pay my bills and work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, that's kind of what I was going for. So that was why I decided to make the shift into digital marketing. And so I pretty much in about 2.5 years at the beach went from office manager to project manager. Then I went into becoming like an apprentice in the web design and graphic design department. And I was working with big national brands. And that's how I got into the space. And so if I fast forward, there are all kinds of really neat pieces along the journey. One, my husband, I got remarried in 2002 to my current husband, Wayne, and he ended up joining the military. We lived in Germany. We moved all around. And in all those moves, I would create these Yahoo groups and bring together all these women. And I'd bring together play groups. And I'd like try to tell people how to get to the best Mexican restaurant and how to find fun things to do. And I just did all that just for fun. But fast forward, come 2010, we're back in the States. I get a master's in management and leadership. And while I'm in graduate school and I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old, I said, I want to have my own business because I want to make money. I don't want to leave and put my kids in daycare. What does that look like? What does that mean? And so I created my first business in 2011 with kind of a similar model of what I had done on all those military moves. And I just said, let me create the best digital resource for really busy families so they can go to one website and find fun things to do. And I used Facebook and Twitter and no other advertising to completely grow that from nothing to a thriving business that became 6 figures in about 3 years. And I totally used Facebook and Twitter. And what happened was I didn't go into this saying, I'm going to learn to do this and like rule the world and help other people. I just was doing it to trial and error, right? Watching 99 YouTube videos and figure it out and keep showing up. But what happened was businesses and chamber of commerces and small businesses just began coming to me saying, how are you doing this? How does Facebook work? How are you doing this with Twitter? So then it just kind of evolved into other people asking me to help them. And then it kind of snowballed. But everything I had done was hyper local. It was like a 30-mile radius. All my experience, that's how I was leveraging social on a local level. But in 2014, we had some unfortunate circumstances happen. My brother-in-law passed away unexpectedly. And we just decided we had lived in Kentucky and we just wanted to live closer to family. So we moved to South Carolina, where I am from, which I was excited about. But everything I had built business related was in this little 30-mile bubble in Kentucky. And so that's when I launched my Sweet Tea social marketing brand. and said, I'm going to just take what God's given me, take all this digital marketing and all this social media experience, and now I'm going to just use the powers of the internet and Zoom and help people no matter where they live. And so that's really how I'm here with you today. And I'd say about a year and a half into my business is when I really felt God putting on my heart to say, this is great, this is good, but I'd like you to kind of use this to like advance my kingdom. And I'm like, what does that look like? So I just genuinely just prayed and said, what does that mean? So I ultimately see myself as a digital missionary, Mimika. I want to come alongside other Christian business owners and brands. They can keep doing their thing. I love and geek out on social media and marketing, and I realize not everybody does. So I want to say, let me align myself with other Christians so I can help them with their social media. And then, God willing, they're out there living their lives in such a way and treating their customers and their employees and shining a light for Christ, that if I help amplify their business, then that means I'm ultimately helping advance the kingdom, that more people would come to know about Jesus, have seeds planted by the businesses that I'm helping. So that's kind of how I got where I am today talking to you about this.
Well, I love that. You totally are speaking my language. You and I are like sisters from another mother. Same kind of trajectory of how you're doing things and you kind of fall into things. As I also never went to college for what I do today. It's all trial and error and learning in 20 years of mistakes. And I love how, and that's the thing is what I'm so passionate about is that there are ministers and in churches and nonprofits and companies and entrepreneurs and businesses who are believers and who are faith-based, who need that support because like you said, it's a multiplication factor, right? We help our clients and our business, the business owner, and their reach is like through multiplication. So I really feel this is a super important calling for both you and I in doing very similar things, but helping those advance the kingdom, reach those, and also creating, resources and abundance and finances and growth, because that's what God ultimately wants from all of us, is just to be faithful with what he gives us. So I'm super excited. But you definitely are one that is great for social media, and you're going to give us some actionable tips. So if everyone's listening, grab your pen and paper. We are going to make some actionable notes today so you can actually implement these. So tell everybody a little bit about, you mentioned about your book and how the title is really about the golden rules of social media and how we can use it as a framework. So give us some tips today based on that.
Yeah, so my book is coming out. It's coming out fall of 2019, and the golden rules of marketing with social media. And the point of that is it's biblical. I'm sitting here looking at this Bible verse. 1 Thessalonians 5:15 says that make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. And so as much as society would like to tell you that the golden rule is just like this, hey, just be nice just because your kindergarten teacher said so, these are biblical principles that God says, treat other people the way that you want to be treated. So the whole premise of my book is kind of focusing on 6 main areas. And we're going to talk today about 4 of those that say, if you want to show up and not seem as if it's all about you, and you're not wanting to come across that you're selling all the time, but you're showcasing the good, the things that are great, the way you help people. We're going to just kind of dive into those 4 different topics today, if that's okay.
Yes, that'll be perfect. So let's get this ready. Make some notes because these are things you can actually use. So what is tip number 1?
Tip number 1 is you have to have a strong foundation. Right? Relationships, life, business. You've got to have that strong foundation. So I would say for the purposes of our conversation that you have got to know for certain who your customer is that you are trying to attract. Because if you are showing up on social media and someone can't read your posts or your videos or your content and know if you are talking to a 55-year-old truck driver that has never seen the likes of a store called, Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, or if you're trying to reach a stay-at-home mom that loves to crochet, the messaging on those audiences are very vast and different. So I want you to literally say, yes, you may have a 20-year age range, right, of your dream ideal customer, but you've got to get laser focused. They're this type of person. Are they coupon clippers, or are they the people that shop and pay full price at Macy's? Are they the people that go RV camping and they're literally trying to create fire with like two pieces of stick and that's like fun for them? Or are they the people that hire out people to come in and they have personal chefs? So once you get your foundation of who your customer is, that's like one of the key things that you've got to know, because it's going to impact all of your marketing and all of your messaging on social. And then there's other key things, but I would say the second thing in that strong foundation category that you have to know is what you offer. I meet so many business owners that there is an insecurity that comes across, and they don't think it's insecurity, but it is not your customer's responsibility to decide how much you should get paid. And it's not your customer's responsibility to decide, do you turn around and do shipping in 2 days? Or is there a 2-week time period from the minute I give you my credit card information to it being sent? And so knowing what your offers are, how you serve people. If it's diversified and you've got 9 different offerings, well, that's fine, but know what that is so you can have that all clear in your marketing. So those are the 2 main things that I would love everyone listening and watching to really focus on when you say, okay, she said to have a strong foundation. What does that mean? Who are you trying to serve, and what do you have to offer those people is kind of what I would focus on.
And it's totally true, because it's, just like you, I know this is part of what I do in my branding strategy with clients, is that a lot of the time they get frustrated. Okay, I know what I want to do. Okay, let's just move on to the tactics. But you can buy millions of courses and coaches and hire coaches and get, consulting and buy products and books on the tactics. But if you do not get your foundation right, and what you mentioned was one huge word that I think needs to be highlighted here, is clarity. And I know, I'll admit it, I've made this mistake myself. Like, oh, this sounds good, and so-and-so is doing this, and I'm going to try that tactic. And it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at a wall, right? We just try things because we want to mimic what someone else is doing. But if we aren't laser focused, like you said, and super clear on who we're serving, we waste a lot of time and money. And I think it's also what you mentioned is about, especially about faith-based entrepreneurs, it's almost like we have this guilt for making money. Okay, this is a generalization. But wouldn't you say it's almost like, maybe I shouldn't charge that much? But you saying, no, know what it is that you want to offer and just go out there and offer it, right?
Exactly.
Well, let's move on to the next tip. So what would you say would be the next thing that we could use in order to have a good framework?
Okay, so the next tip is optimize relationships. So you have to think about the people that already like and know and trust you, whether that would be friends, whether that would be friends that you know that have other businesses. And this applies, guys, if you are an online brand that has clients that serves a global audience, or a national brand, as well as if you are the local dry cleaner or you have a painting studio. There are other business owners that are out there that you can collaborate with. So you should know who those people are. Also, you should know who maybe the dream people are that you would like to have as customers one day. Are you following their pages on social media? Are you going and interacting with them? When a dear friend of yours who maybe they're a speaker and you're a speaker, and they get some prestigious award, or they just got a new speaking event that's going to be in the town that you live, going and sharing that. It may not necessarily even be your same industry, but when you show up on social and you optimize the relationships that you already have, it amplifies that you are a person that says it is okay for me to showcase that there are other smart people in my industry. Because the worst thing that we can do, and this comes from a scarcity mindset, and so some people do this by not realizing it, but they're scared to share someone else's offer. They're scared to share that someone else has like this event happening because they themselves have an event that's in 9 months. And oh my goodness, if I tell people about that event, they may not come to mine. People are smart. People, give them an opportunity. But when you show up and you optimize the connections and the relationships that you already have, it makes your audience feel and realize that you're a giver. And so when you show up on social, that helps. And then the other part of that optimizing relationships is when you think of your customers that you want to have, the biggest takeaway I could tell you, if you listen to nothing else, is that if you think like your customers do, what their needs are, what they struggle with, what they're trying to figure out, what's keeping them up at night, and then you sit down to what your expertise is, and you kind of frame your content in a way that's trying to help that person, that's going to make your connection stronger with that audience. And then just asking people questions. And this is under that optimizing relationships category. True example, I have a client, they got a local restaurant, small, like town of 2,000. Great engagement on our Facebook page. They sell burgers. We posted before the restaurant even opened. If you could pick one topping that you'd like on a burger, what would that be? Okay, we're getting ready to have a Friday night fish fry, and we know we're going to have popcorn shrimp, and we know we're going to have catfish, but if we were going to have one other kind of fish, what would you want? And the comments just go crazy because your audience loves it when you ask their opinion. If it's really deep and it's really personal and it's maybe about a topic that's like super sensitive, yes, it may be a little bit harder to get some of those people to like draw out. But when you just ask questions like, what's your favorite pizza topping? What would you like to have on your burger when we come out with our next burger? Like, that's not rocket science. That's something that people can be in the middle of like the Publix grocery store scrolling and they're just like they just feel compelled to answer, right? They love pepperoni.
Well, that's what's called social media.
Yes.
Social. And that's what I love about it is that you can share a little bit of behind the scenes. Like gone are those days where it was the ad agencies, behind closed doors coming up with these amazing concepts and they announce it like on a Super Bowl ad. That's not how business and marketing works anymore. People want to know like the story. They want to know how it's being built. They like, all these, you just got to look at HGTV and see all these before and afters. People
Yes.
a good makeover. Like if you are a business and you're starting out, I love that story. And wouldn't you say as well, being more like even vulnerable in your posts, like it doesn't have to all be polished.
Exactly. And for some people, that makes them really nervous. Some people think that means that you're going to be posting the photo that's got your kids playing, or that's a selfie of you and your husband on your 15th anniversary. If that makes you nervous, you could still take the picture of the restaurant that you went to. And if it makes you nervous to post it in real time, post it 3 days after the event and just say, we had an amazing dinner at, this particular steakhouse, and tag that restaurant and engage with other brands on social media. But when you show up, and that's the magic, I think, for small business owners, is that you do not have 99 people of red tape to approve every single post, to make sure everything is a certain way. And you can say, I am going to do this. I'm going to create some behind the scenes content. I am going to just show up and make a video and ask people questions and try to nurture that relationship with my audience, whether they're new to me or whether they are like, quote, raving fans. And you can make that decision and you can go and make that video and have it posted in the next 2 hours and begin implementing everything that you learn when you're listening to Mimika or this conversation today.
It's kind of like the concept of, and I know I'll admit I'm a recovering perfectionist, that we almost don't want to put out things there until they are perfect. But in today's social media world, things fly at such a fast pace that done is actually better than perfect.
Yes, progress over perfect always.
Yes, kind of like just get it out there. Like if you have an idea, and there's no such thing as bad ideas. You don't know, like as you said, and once you know who you're speaking to, you can speak the language. And I think we need to mention this part too, and this is something I have with my clients. Well, what if I want to please everybody? Like I don't want to either offend somebody, or I want to be able to have my product or my service or my company, everybody can benefit. Now, what is the problem with that?
The problem with that is that it's so generalized. If I'm like getting ready to have knee surgery and I go to people, I don't go to Facebook and say, like, who's a good like dentist? You're looking for someone that specializes on knees. It's your body. And like, are you doing a good job trying to be top of mind for what you want to be known for? And if we're being honest, and if we're not running our businesses from this scary mindset of I'm not good enough, imposter syndrome, I can't do this. Who am I if I sit there and look at this, what they've created, or they've got this many people on their email list. That's not me. When we just kind of shut down that negative dialogue, and honestly, guys, I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies. It's not even other business owners. Like, we just have this running dialogue that we can say, no, I'm going to trust in God and not keep operating out of fear. But when we realize that we can show up and that we can help people, it just makes it so much easier. If you know that your phone could ring and that someone wants to hire you, you know that there are a couple things that you love and there are a couple things that you go, that's kind of easy. I don't mind it. The money's kind of nice, but you really wouldn't want 10 or 15 more calls of that. So look at what you do and say, I love this. I tolerate this. And make your marketing and your messaging, putting it out there of what you love, and that this is my zone of genius. This, I'm okay. I'm a 6 out of 10. No, you want more of those customers that you can help with, where your experience aligns with your passion, that aligns with, like, I'm excellent at this, and this is what I want my phone to ring about, or this is what I want to get new business opportunities for. And then just spotlight that, because it helps everybody. Nobody wants someone doing work for them or having a service where they're just like, it's okay. I kind of like doing like stationery for weddings. Like, no, like, I want someone that loves it, that's super excited, and that is going to help make my, wedding invitations look amazing because they love it.
Yeah, we are in the age of specialization, and I think the issue is, especially for those like, I'm a Gen Xer, where, and a lot of the school system is still based on teaching everybody to be a good generalist. But when you get into business, you're providing a service, you are being paid to be a specialist. So I think it's a great idea just to decide what it is that you want to do, and put your flag in the sand, right? And just kind of say, okay, I'm going to run for the. And we were talking about this before I started recording, how I've had to pivot my brand as well and decide, like, who am I serving? So I've had to change some of the language and some of the stuff I put out there. And yeah, there's a lot of people who would like what I used to do, but like you said, if that's not where I feel is my zone of genius, I need to go. And again, I think, especially as Christians and as faith-based owners, is that God's given us each gifts. And we should, really step out and use those without worrying. Because wouldn't you say that there's no competition in Christ? We all have our own gifts and unique talents.
I agree. And I believe that. And more of us need to believe that and have like this collaborative spirit, and not operate from, oh my goodness, well, her business is kind of similar to mine, so I'm totally going to like stay away from that person. But instead, just having faith and just trusting and giving and treating people the way that you'd want to be treated. And how would you like to collaborate and be that person? And if you feel that it's going to take someone like yourself to kind of initiate some of those conversations, well, I challenge you to pray about it and kind of be willing to make yourself vulnerable, because I'm not here trying to say that that's an easy thing, but it could be as simple as collaborating or lifting up other people, even just on this thing we call social media. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go do a joint venture partnership with them and have an affiliate program on like something that's like a deeper connection. Those things can evolve if that's something that you feel led to do. But we're just talking like, be collaborative and have that spirit about you overall in your marketing, and it will ultimately, I think, come to really serve you well. And it's just, I believe, how God calls us to be.
Exactly. Just have a giver's mindset, because the more you give, the more you get, right? So it's pretty simple. Business is actually very simple when you think about you run your business according to biblical principles, and it pretty much is, what you get in is what you get out. So that's awesome. So let's get into the next tip. What is the next one you have on your list?
So the next one on my list is choose the right platform. So many businesses, especially when they're starting out, they believe social media is valuable. They know it's helpful. But what they do is they show up and they say, I've got an hour to do my social media. They're kind of like halfway in it. And then they go and get all their usernames on all the platforms. And then what they do is they take their 1 hour of time that they're going to commit to social media, and they're like 10 minutes on Twitter, 10 minutes on LinkedIn, 10 minutes on Facebook, and then they're done, and then they check out and they don't come back till the next week, and then they spend 10 more minutes. And so I personally believe as you grow and as you have more financial resources, you can make a bigger impact on multiple platforms. But as you get started, there should be one main platform that you focus your time and your attention on. And I would like to see more people say, if you have 1 hour to dedicate to looking good on social, take 80% of your time and put that on the number one platform where you want to showcase and look awesome. And then if you want to like make it look like you're visible on Instagram or Twitter and the other places or wherever you choose, then yes, go spend 5 minutes here, spend 5 minutes there, maybe have some content that you may cross promote and use, but angle it differently so it actually looks like you care about the audiences on Twitter and it's not just like all auto posted to a different platform. And because I think you want to make a good impression somewhere and not look average on 5 platforms. So who may be a great fit to say LinkedIn is my number one platform. Someone else, maybe you might even serve the same age demographic, but maybe your business is different and you're an interior designer. And you might say, you know what, Instagram or Pinterest, I'm going to focus my 80% of my time on that platform. So you've got to know your audience and what your industry is. And the age is super important because all people are not equally on different social platforms. But are all of these social platforms filled with people that are super engaged and active every day? Yes. So that's your job as the business owner to make sure you are choosing that right social platform and then grow and scale your level, so to say, on those platforms based on your money and your resources. Because social media takes time and money. And if you don't have a lot of time, then you use the money you have to get really great people to align with your strategies. And if you don't have a lot of money, but you've got time, then sit down and roll up your sleeves and get ready to do more of the work yourself.
Exactly. And I think it's important as well to mention, because as you said, you can be all things to all people and not please anybody. But also to go where the people are, like how, this is, I suppose, part of the strategy is what people, and I hear this as well, I want to be visible on these places, but how do I know which platform to pick? Well, again, I think that's about serving your audience, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly true. As people say, okay, well, here's my business. Where do I go? And the first question I always tell people and say, okay, so where are the 20 to 35-year-olds that like have no kids, that are like super interested in fashion or that are super interested in like social issues? Like, where are they hanging out? So Facebook is probably not going to be your number one choice. Does it mean that 20 to 35-year-olds aren't on Facebook? Yes, some of them are on Facebook, but that's probably not going to be your number one. So you might look and say, okay, maybe I should lean a little bit more towards Instagram, or what does Snapchat look like? And really say, I need to be going where my audience is, not just where I want to go. But that said, I do think if you're going to be doing your own social media, it's important for you to like truly put in the effort to want to like to do that platform better. And so, true example, I'll have people say, I hate Twitter. Twitter's awful. I don't get Twitter. It's really hard to overcome those feelings of like, I hate that platform, and say, I'm going to choose Twitter to be my number one platform. I'm going to spend 40 minutes a day on Twitter. That just kind of sets yourself up for failure. So if you don't kind of have like a social platform that you know your audience is on and you genuinely like enjoy that platform, then you kind of have to have this give and take. Say, okay, I'm going to put back my negative feelings about this platform. Maybe I'm going to do research. Maybe I'm going to find out that Twitter is an amazing place to meet influencers or speakers or people that are in my industry that I'd otherwise never be able to access. But over on Twitter, they themselves are going to tweet me back, or they themselves are going to engage with me and come to kind of hear my name and see my name and start to feel like that I'm not some, random stalker if you're trying to get on someone's radar. So be willing to be flexible to get to understand the nuances of the platform if you're willing to dive in and say, this is going to be my platform of choice.
And sometimes I find, and I'm sure you find the same thing, is people who say, I hate this platform is because they haven't got it to work for them, or they haven't really figured out how it works. Because as you said, social is like children. They're all different. You got to treat them a little differently. And if you try to put them all in the same yeah, there's a thing about, repurposing, which is great. But yeah, I think once we've understood how this works and so we know who our customers, we know what we're offering, and we know where they hang out, what would be the next thing you'd advise everyone do?
I ultimately think that the best thing is to ask yourself, how much time am I actually willing to commit to social media? And some people, when they think of social media, they only think of, I'm going to be posting on my page. But the main things I would really say is you need to be planning time to engage and respond to people, and not just have it be, I took the time to post, because that can actually be a negative impact for your business. If you take the time to post, people take the time to respond and engage with you, but you're not listening, you're not paying attention and responding to people. And then the other thing that is a huge way for you to get exposure, for you to get visibility, and for you to get noticed is for you to not think that social done well only means it's all in your newsfeed. Social done well means that you are going to those other people's pages and you're commenting as your business. You can do that on Facebook, but you're on LinkedIn and you're sharing other people's content, and that you are on the platform, but you're on other people's pages. You're in people's direct messages. You're asking questions. If Facebook groups is a part of your strategy, then you're going and you are answering questions, and you're being a giver, and you're helping, and you're showing up beyond just you saying, oh, I did social media, I posted 7 times this week, and like I'm a rock star.
Yeah, tick it off the list, right?
I'm done. Try not to check out, because you can automation is a part of one of my strategies that I talk about in my book, but it's automating and having smart systems. So you can automate processes and you can do batching, but you've got to engage in real time, or people are going to not really believe that you care.
People can tell, like if it's totally auto post. Like I have a program that I use because I cannot be on social media 24/7 to be able to post. But and of course each platform looks at things differently. But again, it's that sort of give or take. Like how much time do I have to actually do that? Where wouldn't you say maybe less is more, quality over quantity?
For certain. Focus in on what your customers need, and as you think of just making sure that you're showing up. And again, it aligns with you wanting to be known for something. And so when you're kind of lasered in on, this is what I do well, or this is my service, or we have this kind of pizza in this town, you can really get the attention and the eyeballs of more of the right people the more you stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, what is the fourth tip? We've covered 3 so far. So what is the next thing that you can give our audience?
Okay, well, that's perfect segue from what we were just talking about. It's influential content. You need to not just be a robot out there, robot meaning like, let me fill my feed by just maybe sharing everybody else's stuff. Some people go all the way on that, or not enough. They're never sharing other people's stuff, or all they do is click the share button. So I'd like to encourage everybody to know that if your business wants to get recognized as being good, or being helpful, or as being one that helps people get results, or that's got great food, whatever the business is, that you need to be putting your own spin on your topic, what you have to say. So, you see this great Forbes article and it says, 7 ways to get your next 6-figure client. That may be an article that might resonate with your audience, but add something to it. Say, I think number 3 on this list was game changing in my business. It kind of shows that you like Reddit, or intrigues people to have curiosity to say, oh my goodness, I want to go see what number 3 is, because maybe that would help me. And making sure that you're creating stuff that is out of your own heart. You're not just sharing what everybody else has, and you're putting that information out there. And you can make content that's graphics. You can make content that's video. You can make long form posts on social media. You can create short conversations. You can give your opinion. You can ask people their opinion. But that is something that you're not going to find out on Google of like what your opinion is. Your opinion should be able to be found on maybe your website, your social content, if you have a book. And if you do, for example, have a book, or you do have 19 blog posts that you've written over the last 3 years, awesome. Take that information, repurpose that, and then ultimately get that content from that blog post and create graphics or create 1-minute videos that give tiny glimpses of other content that you've created. So it's all about working smarter and not harder.
Exactly. So it's using the content you have and repurposing. I'm all for that. Like if I'm going to do a video, I'm going to take the audio out, make a podcast out of it, transcribe it, make a blog post, then create a Pinterest graphic and a shareable. So there is so much stuff out there that we can do. But I love the idea of, when you focus on maybe a few core pieces of content and be able to use it so you know what you're known for. Well, I know we've gone in a lot of content, and I'm sure your book you said there's more than 4 steps in the book, right? There's more. How many do you cover?
Yeah, so it's 6. And so the whole framework is like an acronym for the word social. So, strong foundation is the S, optimized relationship is the O, choose the right platform is the C, influential content. And then the next one is automate in smart systems. And then the L stands for legacy impact. So we're not out here just doing all these things like just for our businesses, but as Christian business owners, and I'd even say for people that may not be Christians, that we can be out running businesses, serving, helping other people, and truly saying, it's beyond me. How is my business really impacting and making things better in this world that we live in?
Exactly. Well, that is totally awesome inspiration and really useful tips. So if we had to wrap it up into one, I know we've covered so many. If you wanted this one takeaway tip for everybody to remember, what would that be?
The one takeaway tip I would say is remember the people that you are wanting to engage with, have like your stuff, and react with you on social. They're people. They're people that may need your service, but they are people. They have struggles. They have someone they know that just got breast cancer. They have someone they know, or they themselves just got divorced, or they're struggling and they're fighting for their marriage, or someone in their life just passed away. So I think when we show up with grace and we show up and remember that the people that we quote want to sell to, they're real people and they've got struggles. You've got an area of an expertise, and just constantly balance with show up, help people, make people smarter by having engaged with your page. And then the last question I would tell everyone listening is you have to say to yourself, what is in it for my potential customers and my audiences for following me on social media? Because the answer cannot be, oh, well, it's because she wants to grow her business and she wants more followers and she wants more leads. That's not the way your customer's thinking. So what's in it for my customers? If you bake cakes and they're busy and they don't have time to bake cakes and they don't even have the creativity to do like the salted caramel amazing cupcakes that you do, well, guess what? You've got to show up on social media and say, you know what? You're busy, but guess what? We've got all of these new flavors. You can just call us. We'll make this and it will just be ready for that birthday party, and we'll offload that off my plate. So you can still take cakes. This isn't just about people that do social media. Whatever your business, what are their struggles? What do you have? How do you make people's lives easier? Preface it and show up with that type of language and that kind of messaging on social media. And you will begin to see that people start going, oh, this is helpful for me. Oh, I can find this. Oh, they have specials. That's why I should follow them on Facebook. They offer specials there and they don't tell anybody else about it. Or on there, they say, I've got direct access for this and I'm only going to help the first 5 people. I wouldn't know about that otherwise. So why should your audience follow you on Facebook or Instagram or wherever? And if you don't know the answers to those, prayerfully say, I need to come up with that.
Exactly. And it's so true, because that's what it is. Social is social. It's relationships. It's being human, because it's not about just the brand name and the logo anymore. It's about the person behind the brand. And people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So I think that is really, really good advice. Well, you shared a ton of content, Heather. I'm so appreciative of that. But before we wrap it up, would you mind praying for our audience, for those who are listening and maybe you are, just need a little bit of activation prayer?
I would love to. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day that you have given me to sit here and talk with Mimika and everybody that is listening. I just pray, Father, that you would just put a hedge of protection around all of their lives, their families, their health, Lord. And we just pray that the enemy would just realize that you are going to be the one that stays on the mighty throne. And we are just so thankful to love you and to have you caring about all of the details of our business. So I just pray, Father, for people to be encouraged. And I pray, Father, for people that are right now listening that are waiting for just whispers of encouragement and to know that they're loved and to know that you care about all of these things. I pray that you would give them that just sweet word from you, Father, with the Holy Spirit. And I just pray that people that would listen right now would just be blessed, would be encouraged, and that you would just shine your light on their face and on their path. And we pray all of these things in your name.
Amen. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I know everyone listening, having someone pray in support of you and for you and with you is always a great way in strengthening that. Because, we've got lots of things to do and God's expecting us to work together. And, that's why I really appreciate you sharing that. But tell everybody, what's the best place they can find you online and get connected with you?
Yeah. So the best thing would be to let you know my website is sweettSocialMarketing.com. And if you go there, you'll find links to my podcast, which is the Business, Jesus, and Sweet Tea podcast. I've got a free Facebook group for Christian business owners all about social media. And I've got checklists, but sweettSocialMarketing.com is where you'd find all of that cool stuff. And please come connect with me on social media. I'd love that. And tell me you heard this.
Exactly. Well, we will have all these links in the show notes, but you definitely can go check out Heather on Facebook and Instagram. You do a great job there. And also, your book as well. Congrats on that. That's always an amazing feat. I know what hard work it is to write a book. What is the title of the book?
So the book is called The Golden Rules of Marketing with Social Media.
Oh, well, there you go. That's very direct and very obvious about what it is, right? So exactly. You know your audience, so congrats on that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to say to everyone, if you've enjoyed what Heather had to say today, make sure to share it with your friends. Whatever platform you're watching or listening on, click those little buttons and share them. Just like we talked about sharing on social, this is great content. We want to let the world know about this great content that can help them too. So go ahead and do that. And comments. I love interaction and engagement to hear from you from our listeners. If you're watching on the website, mimikacooney.com, under the video, you can add your comments. If you're listening and watching on social as well, we love to hear any aha moments, any ideas you came up with, how we can support and stand in support with what you're doing. And if you want more freebie resources that I only share with my newsletter community, go to mimikacooney.com and I actually have a tool for you as well. It's a checklist called How to Build Your Platform with a Purpose in 30 Days. Also talking about similar things that Heather talked about is, using social media and how to get yourself out there. Because if you've got a message that, God has ordained for you to share in whichever capacity, it's our job to be good and faithful servants and to do the work and put it out there. So make sure to go to mimikacooney.com and grab your resources. Well, I'm going to say thanks again, Heather, for spending your valuable time with me. I so appreciate it. And I'll look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. Take care. Are you ready to build a platform with a purpose? Come to mimikacooney.com and download your free checklist, How to Build Your Platform in 30 Days.